Ivan Aivazovsky is regarded as the master of the sea. His skills in painting seascapes were unmatched, and he's considered one of the most prominent marine artists of the 19th century. During his 60-year career, he painted all over the world and was given many, many awards for his work. He was able to become a very successful artist in his lifetime. His ability to depict the sea in all of its different forms is legendary, and he truly earned the name the King of the Sea. Hi, hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about possibly the most prolific artist ever, Ivan Aivazovsky. Ivan Aivazovsky was a romantic oil painter who mainly painted seascapes. He did some landscapes, but he's definitely best known for his seascapes. He was able to depict light and the transparency of water like nobody else at the time, to the point where people would joke that he had made his own kind of luminescent paint because they just couldn't wrap their heads around how he did it. The technique he used made it so he was able to finish paintings very quickly, and in his 60-year career, he made around 6,000 paintings and has over 20,000 credited to him. That is insane, especially when you remember that this is oil paint, and his paintings are kind of big too, so 6,000 paintings is crazy. He used the technique called glazing, which is just like multiple thin layers of paint, and usually this is done as like the last coat, but he would just do his whole painting in glazes of color. And he would use this for the whole piece, which would give his seascapes the transparent water that looks almost real, and like the depth of the light and stuff. It's very pretty. I love his work so much. And like I said in the intro, he was really successful. He was super popular all over Europe and made trips all over the world and painted in so many different places like Italy, Egypt, and Ukraine and stuff. So I am super excited to talk about him. I love a good artist success story. I feel like we need more of them out there, especially with all of the drama in the art world as of late. So without further ado, let's get started with the life of Ivan Aivazovsky. Ivan Aivazovsky was born on July 29, 1817 in Feodosia, Crimea in the Russian Empire to his Armenian immigrant parents. There's a lot of different versions of his name, like he would sign off letters differently, and he was originally baptized as Hovhannes Avazian, but for this video I'm going to be calling him Ivan Aivazovsky because that's what all of the articles call him. But he had 3 sisters and 1 brother, and the family was considered fairly poor due to them being immigrants and stuff. But he had taken an interest in the arts from a young age. He was a talented violinist and would draw all of the time. His passion would catch the attention of a local architect who would start teaching Ivan more about drawing. In 1883, he would go to St. Petersburg to study at the Imperial Academy of Arts. In 1835, he would become the apprentice of French painter Philippe Turner, and 3 years later he would join Alexander Sonderweiss's battle painting class. This would spark an interest in naval painting for him, so he would start participating in fleet exercises. In October of 1837, he would graduate from the Art Academy with a gold medal 2 years earlier than expected, and returned to his hometown of Feodosia. He would continue to take part in military exercises on the shores of Crimea, and in 1840, the Imperial Academy of Arts sent him to study in Europe, where he would travel around to places like Venice, Rome, and Florence, and studied Armenian manuscripts and art. He stayed in Naples and Rome between 1840 and 1842, and would become inspired by the artwork there, because of its romantic style that was very popular at the time. Ivan would continue to travel around Europe and was given many awards before returning to Russia in 1844. When he got back, he was made an academician of the art academy he studied at in St. Petersburg, and was appointed the official artist of the Russian Navy to paint seascapes and coastal scenes. A year later, he settled back in Feodosia, where he built a house and a studio. He kept a small circle of close friends and family and was considered kind of reclusive at this time. This solitude would negatively impact his career as Russia began to move on from the romantic style of art to a more realistic style, but Ivan didn't want to do realism. He wanted to stick with painting romantic, and he would just keep doing that. and his decision to stick with romantic art garnered him a lot of criticism, which is good on him. Way to not follow the trends, my dude. But honestly, his career didn't seem to be impacted that much by this, because in 1845 he would be given the title of Professor of Seascape Painting at the Art Academy, and was elevated to the rank of nobility, which I didn't even know was a thing that could happen. Like, you could just get given the title of noble in Russia. That's pretty cool. So he's a noble now, and later in the same year he would be elected to the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences. Now, I don't know if he was teaching or not, but he was currently elected to 2 separate schools, and one he's a professor at, so I assume he was teaching at that one, but I don't know. It's a little confusing. But in 1847, he married an English governess named Julia Graves, and they would have 4 daughters together before getting divorced in 1877. In 1853, so back when Ivan and Julia were still married, the Crimean War started between the Russian and Ottoman Empire, and he was evacuated to Kharkiv. And from there, he went to a fortress in Sevastopol to paint battle scenes. Between 1856 and 1857, Ivan worked in Paris and was the first non-French person to be awarded the Legion of Honor. Also in 1857, he was awarded the Order of the Medjidi in Constantinople and was elected as an honorary member of the Moscow Art Society in the same year. In 1856, he received the Greek Order of Redeemer and the Russian Order of St. Vladimir in 1865. Also in 1865, he opened up an art studio in Feodosa and was awarded a salary by the Imperial Academy of Arts. Through the 1860s and the 1880s, he would travel and paint in many different places and also get more awards and honors. So we're just going to run through all of that real quick because it's kind of a lot, so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail with those. So in the 1860s, he made several pieces inspired by Greek nationalism and Italian unification. In 1868, he visited Constantinople and would paint works inspired by the Greeks' resistance to the Turks during the Greek Cretan Revolution. He painted several mountainscapes and had an exhibition in Tiflis. I think it's Tiflis. He traveled to Egypt and attended the opening ceremony of the Suez Canal in 1869, where he would also be considered the first person to paint the Suez Canal, which is pretty cool. In 1870, he became an actual civil councilor, which was the 4th highest civil rank in Russia. And in 1871, he would initiate the construction of the Archaeological Museum in Feodosa, and the next year he would travel to Florence to display his paintings. In 1874, he was personally invited to Constantinople by the Sultan, who gave him the Turkish Order of Osmanij. He was made a member of the Academy of Arts in Florence in 1867, and 2 years later, in 1878, he was elected as an honorary member of the Stuttgart's Royal Academy of Fine Arts, and in 1880, he opened a gallery in his Feodosa house, which would become the 3rd museum in the Russian Empire. In 1882, he married a young Armenian woman, and by young, I mean like 40 years younger than him. She was in her 30s, so it's not like super creepy or anything, but it's still kind of weird for a 30-year-old to be married to a 70-year-old, just in my opinion. Anyways, the 50th year of his career was celebrated with an exhibition in 1886 in St. Petersburg, and was given an honorary membership in the Imperial Academy of Fine Arts that he had studied at. When the Hamadan massacres started, which were the killings of Armenians in the Ottoman Empire between 1894 and 1896, Ivan was really affected by these. He painted many paintings during this time that were inspired by it, and would throw the medals given to him by the Ottoman Sultan into the sea. He even told the Turkish consul in Feodosa to tell their bloodthirsty master that I've thrown away the medals given to me, and he gave them the ribbons he had been given to send to him, and said that if he wants, he can throw them into the seas painted by me. He would spend his final years in Feodosa, and thanks to his help, a commercial port was made that connected the railway network of the Russian Empire. He passed away on April 19, 1900, and was buried in the courtyard of St. Sargis Armenian Church, and the quote, "Born immortal, left the immortal memory of himself," is engraved on his headstone. Around the time of Ivan's 50th career year celebration, Anton Chekhov would describe Ivan in a letter to his wife as a hale, hearty old man of 75 looking like an insignificant Armenian and a bishop. He is full of a sense of his own importance, has soft hands, and shakes your hand like a general. He's not very bright, but he has a complex personality worthy of further study. In him alone, there are combined a general, a bishop, an artist, an Armenian, a native old peasant, and an Othello. And honestly, none of that sounds like a compliment to me. Dude basically just called him poor, arrogant, and dumb. But regardless of his opinion of Ivan, Ivan was clearly a well-respected man by many people and many different countries, which leads to some dispute on where exactly he's from, or like his identity, I guess. Whether he's a Russian artist or a Ukrainian artist, an Armenian artist, a Turkish artist. Pretty much every place he visited and painted in claims that he was such and such artist, which I don't really understand. Like, I don't get if it's a nationality thing, because like he was born in Russia, but his parents were Armenian, and he was heavily influenced by Armenian culture and art. So I would say he's an Armenian artist, but I don't know, it doesn't really make sense to me. If somebody could explain that, that would be great. But yeah, there's a lot of dispute on that topic. I personally think of him as an Armenian artist, but I don't know, I could be wrong and just completely misunderstanding the whole point of the debate. But regardless, Ivan Aivazovsky was an incredible artist who was very popular and respected all over the world. His incredible memory made it so that he was able to paint amazing scenes from nature from the comfort of his studio, and it said that he was a very passionate painter. Like, he would put so much energy into each of his paintings that he would be out of breath by the end of each session. And if there's one thing we can learn from his story, it's to take time to observe nature. Ivan would spend a lot of time out in nature just taking in the scenes and memorizing them and looking at how the light interacted with stuff. So take some time to go outside and just look at things, which with spring finally starting where I live is something I'm going to be doing a lot of. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. This video is a bit longer than I thought it would be because there's just so many accomplishments and stuff that Ivan did. So I'm not going to ramble too much in the outro. I don't want this video to be longer than it has to be. But I'm so glad you enjoyed it enough to watch all the way to the end. Comment what other artists I should cover in this little series. I want to cover a Ukrainian artist next, since Ivan is technically a Russian artist because he was born in Russia and stuff, you know. I want to cover a Ukrainian artist next because, you know, reasons. But yeah, let me know if you know of a Ukrainian artist you'd like to hear about. And thank you again for watching. Be sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on my next video, and I will see you next week. Bye bye!